Hey Bryant, what are you doing?
Well, I'm trying to use this atlas to plot a route for our trip to Japan, but there's something weird about it. All of the pages are blacked out. It's like something's protecting their privacy.
That's not an atlas. That's Atlas VPN.
What?
This video was brought to you by Atlas VPN. In a world where privacy is quickly becoming a thing of the past and overlarge media companies are just expected to know everything about you, from your mother's maiden name to where you keep your stapler, Atlas VPN is here to defend your data from all the scary, cyberpunk, dystopian Big Brother nonsense that we've all just kind of started taking for granted. Atlas is a real standout in the VPN market, and there are a couple of reasons I use it. First, data breach monitoring. Atlas scours the internet for security breaches and leaked databases so that they can let you know when your data has been leaked to the internet at large, so that you can quickly take all the steps that you need to protect yourself. Second, it's fast. Atlas was built with streaming in mind, so not only can you access region-locked content from anywhere in the world, you can stream crisp, top-quality videos straight to your device, and it doesn't even feel like you're using a VPN. And third, it's cheap. Atlas is running a huge discount where you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.39 per month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's 86% off the usual price for ad and malware protection at blazing speeds on unlimited devices that also keeps your data safe and helps you find the best deals while shopping online. I'm not one to overstate things, but it's a really good deal on a lot of great stuff, so click that link in the description and start protecting your online privacy today. Now on to this. Of all the friends that I had in middle school, I was the last one to grow up. I had my share— no sad music, cut the music, we don't do that here. I had my share of Chunibyo when I was a kid. I don't remember exactly what the stories were that I told myself, something about magic dogs that only I could see, and talking to water, and made-up family members who lived far away teaching me sorcery via snail mail. I've got this mark on the inside of my right thumbnail that I said was a sign of royalty in another dimension, when really I just put a pencil in a slingshot one day and ow. Every fantastical myth that I wove around myself had a story like that at the bottom of it, and I knew that. I knew that none of it was real, but it was important to me. It made me happy to think that I was somehow more than the world around me. It made me happy to fall into these fantasies and spend time with my friends working out what special powers each of us had, which one of us was descended from which magic kingdom, what threats were facing the world, and how our merry band of annoying, yappy, goblinoid preteens could use our magic spells and ninja techniques and sci-fi blasters to defeat the forces of evil. Then, one day, I was in my backyard with my best friend, and I suggested that we play the night game, which was just LARPing with fewer steps. I remember I was really excited about it that day because we were in the middle of this really intense storyline. It was something about the two of us going to a magic school and a princess, and I'm sure that this stick played into it somehow because it always did. But he didn't want to play. And that was fine. It was hot outside. Maybe he wasn't feeling well, or he was having an off day. It sucked, but the princess and the school and the stick and I could wait. So I waited with my stick and my Harry Potter Halloween robe and my shield made out of the top of a plastic storage bin, but I didn't know that the story was over. I didn't know that he would never want to play again. Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions is a story about growing up, and it's a story about how much growing up sucks. Of course, with the whole plot centering around Rika coming out of her delusions and accepting reality, it's ultimately a story about how adulthood is inescapable and should be willingly accepted, but that doesn't mean it portrays growing up as easy or even desirable. Yuta and Nibutani spend the whole series distancing themselves from their cringy middle school personae, and while they have a much easier time integrating themselves with the ignorant apes of their high school than they would if they were still wearing capes and shouting about power attacks, they aren't happy. Rika certainly isn't happy. Toga and the few other adults we see are far from happy. And that's a trend that persists through the whole roster of characters. The whole roster of characters except for Sanae Dekomori. Sanae Dekomori sucks. She is one of the most annoying, petulant, shrill, and downright unpleasant anime characters in recent memory. If someone offered me $200 to spend the afternoon with her, I would ask to receive my payment in quarters so that I could put the quarters into a large sock and then use the sock to pummel everyone involved in that exchange into an undulating pile of hair and bone, including myself, for whom it would be a mercy. And yet, she's one of my favorite characters of all time. She is a child who acts like a child. She She is fully and unabashedly herself. She pours everything she has into loving the things that she loves. Her imagination is enviable, her upbeat enthusiasm makes me want to throw her in front of a truck, and her honest love for her friends is beautiful in a really simple and elegant way. And as with all beautiful things, anime has a knack for throwing it in a blender. Dekomori is the saddest character in Chunibyo, if you ignore the second season, which I intend to do forever. Sure, Rika's story is sadder, Yuta and Nibutani's lives are sadder, Toga is sadder, but Dekomori is the one who loses the most. The one whose life is forever altered not by tragedy, not by trauma, but because that's what happens to life. At the beginning of Chunibyo, Dekomori is happy. She's the only character who is happy, except for maybe Kumin, who notably gets her kicks by being unconscious. Like Rika, Dekomori throws herself headlong into the illusion of some fantastical world with magic powers and cool super attacks. And she loves living in that world. It makes things exciting and fun, and it gives her a way of connecting with the person who's most important to her. When Yuta asks her to introduce herself in episode 3, she does so by saying, "I am an agent of the Eye of the Wicked Lord, Rika Takanashi's #1 servant." She presents her identity in terms of fantasy, and in terms of how she relates to the most important person in her life. Playing pretend with her friends is what makes her happy. It's what gives her life meaning. This might sound similar to a certain other character in Chunibyo whose life is defined by delusion, but there are major differences that makes Rika's story sad but ultimately good, and Dekomori's just sad. While one can debate how much Rika actually believes the things that she says and how much she acknowledges to be delusion, Dekomori clearly understands that all of Rika's Wicked Lord nonsense is nonsense. During the quote-unquote battle with Nibutani on the bridge, when Nibutani's super mega awesome ribbon attack falls uselessly over the rail, Dekomori goes and heckin' picks it up because she knows that pretending the attack hit is just so much more awesome than what actually happened. During this scene, Nibutani and Dekomori are on the same page in a way that Nibutani and Rika never are. Nibutani is using the framework of imagination as a means of communication and interpersonal connection, and Dekomori responds positively to that. While Dekomori doesn't accept that Nibutani wrote the Mabinogion at the end of the fight, it's not because the muses told her that Nibutani is a liar. It's because Nibutani cringes and shrinks back as the sacred seven-colored tome is recited to her, and in Dekomori's head, it doesn't make sense for an author to shy away from their own work. This being a real-world rationalization that has nothing to do with the pretend playing that she was just doing. But the most important bit isn't that she knows this world is fake, it's that she can enjoy it without letting it take over her entire life as Rika does. Check this out.
Deko, will you explain this problem to me, please? I just don't get it. It's really confusing. Oh, this? Well, here, you draw a line like this. When you do, here and here become the same area. Oh, I get it now. Still, to think the Dark Flame Master has fallen prey to such magic.
First off, we hear from Kumin earlier in the series that Dekomori is the top student in her entire grade. Not only is Dekomori doing well for herself, she could not possibly be doing better, in stark contrast to Rika, who got a single-digit score on a math test due to her inability to focus on anything that isn't magic. Second, this scene gives us a few indicators that Dekomori is very well integrated with the rest of her classmates. Just asking for help and admitting that a problem is confusing shows that this random girl isn't afraid to look dumb in front of Dekomori. She even calls her by a nickname, Deko, implying that they have at least some familiarity with each other. And when Dekomori explains the problem, she does so by saying that the girl needs to draw a line to make the two shapes have the same area, which has absolutely nothing to do with demons or summoning circles. Which I shouldn't have to say, except that when she's helping Rika study for her math test, that's exactly how she explains the problem to her. She pretends that it's a mystic cipher locking a magical door which connects math to Rika's magical interests in a very smart attempt at getting her to engage with the problem, and it works. She gets the wrong answer, but she tries. Dekomori is smart, she's well-adjusted, a good teacher, and literally the best student. She could not be doing better with her life, and she likes all the same pretend-playing nonsense that Rika does. But it can't keep going. There is a social machine in place that's determined to take people like Dekomori and fit them smugly into boring gray three-piece business suits. As the girl herself says in episode 11, the wind blows and I, Dekomori, blow with it, to the right, to the left. It's just a funny transition shot between scenes, but it comes out of nowhere and relates to nothing in a way that just screams, listen to me, I am the themes. Dekomori here is basically facing the camera and explicitly telling the viewer that she is a marionette in a wind tunnel, being blown hither and thither with no control at all over the direction of her life. She wants to continue playing pretend with Rika, but the world has decided that Rika should grow up. And I'm not saying that's incorrect. Rika's childish mentality is clearly a manifestation of some deep-rooted hashtag problems that need addressing, though preferably by a professional psychologist, not by a this. But the tragedy of that is that shoving Rika headlong into normalcy means that Dekomori doesn't have anyone to play with anymore. That the entire fantasy world that she loves so dearly can't exist anymore. In a way, Rika's psychological correction, and I use the term intentionally, is Armageddon for Dekomori. A literal destruction of the world that she loves to the point where any semblance of it becomes irretrievable. Which is all neatly summarized in one beautifully somber exchange in episode 11.
This society. No. This club is... As of today, it's disbanded.
Master.
I think we should all be free to do the things we want to do. You too.
What's happened to you, Master? The society is needed to find the invisible boundary lines that leads to the world that lies beyond. Master! Master! Master!
All right.
Master!
That's the way it is. Just hand over your copies of the Mabinogion and return to your middle school life.
What are you doing?
That's enough. You're coming with me.
Let go!
Honestly,
Let go!
aren't you being too stubborn?
Let go!
You and Takanashi?
Master!
Stop struggling already!
First, Rika says that everyone should be free to do what they want to do, even Dekomori. And Dekomori believes the same thing, which is why she's practically sobbing even as Rika says it. Because Rika being mentally carted off to the land of the normies means that Dekomori must either follow or be left alone, and neither of those options is what she wants to do. Dekomori protests, listing all of the fun things that she and Rika do together, insisting upon how important this made-up world is to both of them, and she is grabbed and pulled away by Nibutani, who insists that's just the way it is. Nibutani, the member of the group who's most associated with traditional adulthood, or at least with traditional high schoolerhood, literally drags Dekomori away from the things that she holds dear, tells her to throw away her toys, and says, that's just life, kiddo, no sense resisting, nothing to be done. And again, I emphasize the reason that Dekomori is being forced to abandon her hobbies has nothing to do with her personal well-being. It's just that everyone else is growing up. Everyone else decides that magic summoning circles are like so gauche, and that, I don't know, heckin' slap bracelets are in what a high schooler's like. And it's regrettable, even for the perpetrators. When Yuta walks into the club room for the last time and sees Dekomori with her hair down, he curls into a ball and says, I feel sick. He gets flashbacks of Dekomori running away, crying after he tells her that her world is fake, and he wonders, what should I have done? In other words, was there a way to help Rika without hurting Dekomori? Of course, Dekomori seems to be taking it in stride. She claims that pigtails were far too childish, and when she sees Kumin starting to imitate Rika, she makes a snide offhand remark about her ridiculous, embarrassing outfit. And while it seems that Dekomori is adjusting surprisingly well to the transition into adulthood, that's because she knows so little about how to be herself that she immediately starts imitating somebody else. Nibutani, the second most miserable character in the entire show, missing out on the first place spot only because Chunibyo does feature one proper adult. Chunibyo presents a dim view of adulthood, one in which the beauties of childhood must be left behind for seemingly no reason at all, where the whims and the arbitrary decrees of others in society determine with nigh exclusivity whether or not a person is allowed to be happy in a way that makes sense to them, and the verdict is almost unilaterally no. Dekomori goes from an annoyingly cheerful and upbeat goblin princess to a snide and condescending bitch who disparages others for being different. And while one could interpret that to mean that she's adjusting well well to high school life. Considering the person she's learning this new behavior from, I find it unlikely that this new lifestyle will bring her half as much joy as the old. Like most 12-year-olds, I thought that 27 was impossibly old, so maybe I'm just an old man romanticizing children yet. Nope, don't say it like that. So maybe it's just the tendency of old men to wax poetic about the days of their youth that's making me see childhood as more than it was. But there's a spark of wonder and imagination that you can't ever really get back. I'm proud to say that I held on to it longer than anyone else I knew, but it fades for everyone in time. And that's the tragedy of Chunibyo, that the world we live in demands a certain degree of conformity, that growing up means growing old, and that everyone must succumb to the process, whether they want to or not. This was a hard one for me. I try not to editorialize as much as I did in this video, but it was just such a personal topic that I couldn't help it. Next video is gonna be about Pula Muga Maduka Maguka, a proper subs versus dubs like before, and you aren't gonna have to wait multiple months for this one, probably just one. Script's almost done. I meant to have the whole video done by now, but nah. A big thank you to today's lucky patron, Troper37. Thank you so much for supporting this channel, and a huge thank you to all of these people for supporting the channel as well. I've been having a seriously awful time trying to get videos produced while I'm cycling through new ADHD medications. This one works but makes me really sleepy. This one doesn't work and makes me really sleepy. I was bored and anxious, but now I'm bored, anxious, and fast? It's a nightmare. And it's a nightmare that has seen a plethora of people practically pried apart from my Patreon. So for those of you who stuck around through #thebusiness, thank you immensely for trying not to let me be homeless. If you want to support this channel while hanging out on our Discord, joining our weekly game afternoons, reading my notes and scripts before they are available to the public, and seeing those exclusive videos that I don't see fit to put on YouTube, go to patreon.com/explanationpoint, link in the description. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, ring the notification bell, and get your 86% discount off a 3-year subscription to Atlas VPN, link in the description. And until next time, this has been Explanation Point, signing out.